What were the philosophical foundations of the American Revolution? Imagine if you lived in a time when just one thought could lead a nation to fight for its freedom. This was the world before the American Revolution. To understand how ordinary people stood up for their rights, let's explore the Enlightenment ideas that inspired them and the heroes who brought those ideas to life. During the Enlightenment, a period of intense intellectual growth in the 17th and 18th centuries, philosophers like John Locke, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Montesquieu shared ideas that changed the world. The Enlightenment emphasized reason, individualism, and the belief that people could improve their society through knowledge and discussion. For instance, Voltaire argued against injustice and to promote freedom of speech and religion, which influenced many thinkers in the American colonies. These ideas spread across Europe through books like Locke's Two Treatises of Government and Rousseau's The Social Contract, which reached the American colonies and laid the groundwork for revolutionary change. John Locke believed that everyone had natural rights, rights you were born with, like life, freedom, and to keep your stuff. He argued that governments exist to protect those rights. If a government failed to do so, people had the right to change it. Think of it like owning a smartphone. If it stops working properly, the company gives you the right to a new one. Locke's ideas were reflected in Thomas Paine's Common Sense, where Paine wrote passionately about the need for independence and the protection of natural rights. Jean-Jacques Rousseau introduced the idea of the social contract. He argued that people agree to follow certain rules for the good of everyone, much like players agree on rules to make a game fair and enjoyable. Rousseau believed that people should have a say in how they are governed, to make sure that the government works for the people. This concept influenced Benjamin Franklin, who organized meetings where colonists could discuss their ideas and work together to create a government that serves all of its people. Montesquieu came up with the idea of separation of powers. He believed that government should be divided into different branches, each with its own responsibilities, to prevent any one group from having too much control. It's like having different teams in a school project, where each team has its own job to ensure the project runs smoothly. Montesquieu's ideas were incorporated into the United States Constitution to make sure that no single branch of government would become too powerful. These Enlightenment ideas spread to the American colonies through books, pamphlets, and conversations among the colonists. Thomas Paine's Common Sense was a key pamphlet that argued for independence from Britain, making complex ideas accessible to regular people. Conversations in taverns like the Green Dragon in Boston became hotbeds for revolutionary ideas, where colonists debated and refined their thoughts on governance and rights. This growing desire for change set the stage for the American Revolution. Before the Revolution, many colonists accepted that leadership came from family lines and that their roles in society were fixed. However, Enlightenment ideas encouraged them to value individual talent over hereditary privilege. This shift meant that anyone with the right ideas and abilities could lead, not just those born into power. Take Benjamin Franklin, for example. Franklin wasn't born into wealth or nobility, but his intelligence and innovative spirit made him a key leader. He organized meetings where colonists could discuss their ideas. "Let's work together to create a government that serves us all," he wrote. Franklin's gatherings were like modern-day town halls, where everyone can voice their opinions and make decisions together. His role in the Philadelphia Convention showed how individual talent and collaborative effort could shape a nation's future. Another example is Abigail Adams, who used her voice to influence her husband, John Adams, a prominent leader. She wrote letters urging him to remember the ladies when creating new laws. Her advocacy was like a student speaking up in class to ensure everyone's ideas are heard and valued, which shows that leadership and influence were not limited to those with inherited status. Abigail's letters show how individual voices contributed to shape a more inclusive government. These changes were also seen in Thomas Jefferson, who drew from Enlightenment thought when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson incorporated natural rights and the idea of a social contract to argue that the colonies had the right to break away from British rule. The Declaration was like a powerful manifesto, which stated the colonists' reasons to seek independence, gave evidence, and rallied others to the cause. Jefferson's work shows how Enlightenment ideas influenced the foundational documents of the United States. Religion played a role to shape colonial attitudes as well. Many Americans believed they were a people blessed with liberty, which strengthened their resolve to seek freedom and govern themselves. This belief was similar to a strong team spirit that motivates everyone to work together towards a common goal. The Great Awakening, a religious revival movement, reinforced the idea that Americans were chosen to create a free and just society, which blended religious conviction with revolutionary zeal. Now, let's hear from some colonists who turned these important ideas into action. Sarah Osborne Benjamin sat at her desk and wrote letters to her friends and neighbors as her husband fought in the Revolutionary War. "We deserve the same rights as everyone else," she wrote. Her words spread quickly. much like a popular post that everyone shares online. Sarah made more people question British rule and consider their own freedoms, which embodies the Enlightenment principle that everyone shapes society. She lived over 100 years and saw the new country. Phyllis Wheatley stood before a crowd and recited her poetry. Freedom and equality for all, she declared. Her poems inspired people to stand up for what they believe in. Phyllis showed that everyone deserves natural rights, like life and liberty, and used her talent to advocate for equality and justice, even though she was a slave. Jefferson dismissed her as purely emotional, but her words stuck with people as the United States became a country that fought over slavery in a different generation. George Whitefield preached passionately in the church. You have the right to choose your own path, he told his listeners. It was similar to how you choose your classes or hobbies today. George's messages made people believe in a republican form of government, where leaders are elected by the people rather than appointed by a king. His sermons helped to spread revolutionary ideas through religious gatherings. These Enlightenment ideas came together in Thomas Paine's Common Sense and the Declaration of Independence. These documents argued that people have the right to choose their own leaders and live free. They were like the rule book for a new game, which guided the colonists on how to build their nation based on natural rights and republican government. The Declaration of Independence, written by Jefferson, was especially important. It took Enlightenment ideas and put them into action to explain why the colonies broke away from Britain. This document became a cornerstone of American history and shaped how Americans understand their rights in government today. Locke, Rousseau, and Montesquieu never met Sarah, Phyllis, George, Benjamin, Abigail, or Thomas Jefferson, yet their ideas traveled across oceans and inspired these colonists to take action. It's like how a viral video from another country can inspire people everywhere to create their own versions. The Enlightenment didn't just influence a few thinkers, it started a movement. Ideas about freedom, equality, and democracy spread through discussions in taverns like the Green Dragon. Sons of Liberty and Freemasons met there, churches and homes. This widespread exchange of ideas united the colonists and made them realize they shared common goals and values. For example, the Sons of Liberty used Enlightenment ideas to organize protests against British policies, which show how collective action based on shared beliefs could drive revolutionary change. In the end, the combined efforts of these philosophers and activists showed that powerful ideas can come from anywhere and anyone. Their belief in natural rights, social contracts, freedom of speech, and separation of powers united people to fight for their freedom, which changed the course of history. So the next time you enjoy your freedoms, remember the philosophical foundations of the American Revolution. It all started with the simple belief that one powerful idea can inspire millions to stand up for what is right.